I mean, this is yet another circumstance where the president seems to be having a very difficult time defending his own policies.
He was having a debate with a hardliner about immigration.
Would you have just made the same argument?
Well, I'm not necessarily making an argument. I'm just telling you the political dynamics in the Republican Party.
Trump has put you in a very difficult position.
朋友们好，欢迎回到新甜面对面。刚才大家看到的是 Scott Jennings 在 CNN Newsnight with Abby Phillip 节目上的辩论片段。在这期节目里，我要做的呢，就是一件很多观众朋友敲碗的事情，那就是把 Scott Jennings 在这个节目上的完整辩论片段翻译成中文，加上字幕，带给华人观众。那之所以制作这段内容呢，主要有3个原因。第一，这是对观众回馈的延伸。过去2期节目，我介绍了 Scott Jennings 从反川到挺川的转变，以及他如何在 CNN 1打多的辩论现场中以常识突围。这2期节目得到观众朋友非常热烈的反响，也有观众特别建议，希望看到 Jennings 在 CNN 更多完整的实际辩论，并配上中文字幕。所以今天呢，新田就做这个节目作为回应。第二个原因是，这段辩论清楚地展现保守派在主流媒体场域中如何应对自由派的问题。很多观众朋友特别想了解，当议题被框在特定的叙事里，保守派和自由派之间如何拆解问题，进行有效的辩论。Jennings 在这段节目中的表现，保持冷静，用常识拆框，刚好提供了一个很好的案例。第三呢，新田觉得这段讨论有助于理解川普在移民和人才政策上的表达。那这方面呢，是很多华人所关心的，尤其是 H-1B。川普的语言经常引发争议，某些说法甚至会让部分保守派支持者都会感到困惑。他到底是什么意思呀？他现在说的怎么跟之前说的有矛盾呢？Jennings 在这段辩论对话中示范了如何从政策背景、政治联盟的压力以及具体制度改革的角度来拆解川普的发言。我相信这对川普的支持者，也对一些不太理解他的人都会有所启发。好，那么在看之前呢，我有必要介绍一下这段辩论的背景。起因是大约3周前，川普在福克斯新闻的名主持人 Laura Ingraham 的专访中谈到 H-1B 高技能人才签证与美国劳动力的问题，其中川普一句话“美国没有这样的人才”立刻引发外界高度关注。在这段 CNN 节目的讨论中，自由派来宾质疑这句话等于贬低美国工人，而保守派阵营内部也不是铁板一块，有的人希望全面限制移民，有的人则认为美国实际上是需要引进高科技人才的。那这段辩论就是在这个背景下展开的。Scott Jennings 在这场辩论中的核心观点是哪些呢？首先，他认为在川普常识革命领导之下的共和党是一个高度多元的政治联盟，支持者中对移民有着截然不同的立场，包括强硬派、科技界、农业界，他们各有不同需求。第二，川普的原意并不是否定美国人才，而是指出高端技能不能随意替代，高技术人才不是随便在美国街上抓一个就能做的。第三 ，H-1B 制度需要改革，但不是废除。保留 H-1B 不等于开放移民，而是补充特定技能缺口。第四点，川普的新规提高 H-1B 申请费到10万美元，就是一种缩减滥用，而不是全面封锁。第五，美国优先不等于拒绝所有外国人才，它跟引进高端人才并不矛盾。真正的美国利益是在必要的领域引进必要的人，如果能强化美国竞争力，就具有政策正当性。第六，川普的表达方式可能引起某些人的误会，但政策本身不等于那句话的字面意思。在看完整个辩论之后，我想邀请各位思考一个问题：您认为美国在高技能移民政策上应该采取的最佳方向是：1. 全面限制 H-1B， 2. 保留 H-1B， 加强审核，提高门槛， 3. 维持现行 H-1B 的开放做法。请您留言告诉我你会选哪一个，1、2或者3，也欢迎您在留言区分享具体的看法，我会去看每一则留言，您的观点或建议也可能会成为我们后续节目的讨论素材。 这些天我正在亚洲出差中，虽然到处奔波，但还是挤出时间做节目，不至于开天窗太久，让喜欢和支持辛恬面对面的朋友等太多时间。现在呢，就请您花1-2秒钟点个赞，还没有订阅的朋友点击订阅，打开小铃铛。这么简单的一个动作，就是对辛恬最大的鼓励和支持。当然了，如果能购买辛恬推荐的养生保健品，包括韩国济州岛红海参萃取凝胶或者景山深黄黑参产品，那就更棒了，因为它们真的会对你的身体有帮助，也会帮助这个频道增加一点收入。像我自己在出差中就带着红海参凝胶和参黄片，随时补充能量，修复元气，非常的方便实用。好，话不多说，接下来我们就一起看这段带有完整中文字幕的 CNN。
Trump was confronted on Fox about H-1B visas and why he's not prioritizing jobs for American workers in manufacturing. Listen to this.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people
no, you
here.
don't. No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here.
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
It's an interesting soundbite. I mean, there are a lot of things happening there, including a huge rift actually within the Republican coalition on this issue. But that's that piece where he says, no, you don't. You don't have the talent in response to her question.
I mean, this is yet another circumstance where the president seems to be having a very difficult time defending his own policies here. And I am someone who's generally in favor of more immigration, who's been very in favor of these H-1B visas, which have been indispensable to the tech industry. It would be great if he had the ability to articulate why these are a good idea right now, why these don't necessarily crowd out American applicants for these jobs, people who want to go seek a higher education in the United States, visiting from abroad. Being able to attract the best possible talent from around the world and bring them to American universities, to steep them in our culture. Lots of them stay, lots of them create more jobs. This is not a bad policy.
It has been a remarkable success story for the United States, although there are cheaters in the system, that's true, and that should definitely be addressed. But to Camille's point, Trump did not articulate anything even close to that in that soundbite.
No, and it's fascinating because although I completely agree with what you said, I thought it was kind of shocking that he just said, no, you don't. Who's the you you're referring to? The United States? He's referring to the United States as some other entity, as though he's not the president of the United States. The United States doesn't have talented workers. First of all, I agree there are not enough workers here in the United States to be able to do all those jobs. But the president of the United States just said that you, the United States people, don't have enough good, talented people in your country. I'm shocked that if Barack Obama or Joe Biden or any Democrat said that, every Republican conservative would be outraged by that. That just one line. It's the first time I heard that. It just struck me as being very unusual for any president to say something like that.
If Joe Biden had said that, it would be, more evidence in your column that he was unfit. I think
look, he was having a debate with a hardliner about immigration. She fervently believes that we shouldn't have any of this kind of immigration. Trump is in an interesting spot, as you pointed out, with the coalition. He does have people in the party who believe what Laura believes, which is this should be cut off. We shouldn't be doing any immigration of any kind, that's how you drive up wages for workers. That's a big chunk of it. He also has this interesting tech part of his coalition. They like the H-1B visa program. And then he's also got the agriculture piece of his coalition, which has other immigration issues. It's a delicate thing. He's got a broad coalition with really, really disparate views. I will point out he did sign an executive order earlier this year. I think it's a $100,000 application fee now for an H-1B visa. So they did move towards making it harder to get one. I think they would argue that makes it harder to cheat on it. If you're serious, you're going to pay us this kind of an application fee. But obviously he believes there's something to be gained in the United States by finding talented people, maybe with specialized skills, and bringing them here. That he may not be in full agreement with all of his coalition, but he'll get some support on that out of tech and out of other industries.
So let me ask you a question. If Trump would have said, no, we definitely need American workers, would you have just made the same argument?
Well, I'm not necessarily making an argument. I'm just telling you the political dynamics in the Republican Party, which is that there's not broad agreement. Some people want it, some people want it throttled, and some people don't want it at all. And he's kind of presiding over all of this. He is in an interesting position because he's known broadly as an immigration hawk, but on this particular point, he is supported by a great many people who see the value in highly specialized, talented people being able to come here.
Who are from other countries, not Americans.
Yeah, so I mean that is a point that's been made to him, and he's
that's
obviously
one of the reasons that this is a
nonsense.
rift, because Trump has sold his base on a pretty exclusionary immigration policy. Now he's trying to argue with them that actually we should let certain people in. That's why Laura Ingraham is pressing him like this. And he's not really even articulating, to Camille's point again, he's not really saying clearly what the policy ought to be. He's just saying we don't have talented people in the United States to do these jobs, which is not true. But, you know, I mean, it's also just a failure.
Are you arguing that we shouldn't have H-1Bs?
No, I'm just saying what he's saying, that we don't have talented people, is just on its face untrue. But there's a role for H-1Bs that he could argue for, but he didn't.
I interpreted it as him saying there's
I'm not
room
trying
for,
to put
there's
words
room
in
for
his
more
mouth.
talented
He just didn't
people.
make the argument.
When I was listening to it, and I listened to it carefully, I was interpreting his answer as, look, we have needs and room for the most talented people we can get. Now, it will be under the framework of his executive order, meaning you have to pay a pretty significant fee to get one, which I think they believe has controlled this to some degree. But my interpretation of it was, hey, if there are talented people that can come here, they want to be here, and they're not gaming the system, that's something we ought to look at. That's how I interpret it.
He just said, no, you don't. And he said, you'd have to get people out of the unemployment line here in order to get them into the jobs that are high-skilled jobs. That didn't sound like what you just said.
No, he was obviously saying that if you have an unskilled worker,
what you're saying and what Trump actually
if there's an
said
unskilled
is the
worker
point.
who's
Yeah.
unemployed versus a highly trained or highly educated, engineer, physicist, those are two different kinds of people who would be taking two different kinds of jobs. What he said is objectively true. You couldn't pluck anyone off the street and put them in a high-tech, highly specialized, high-trained area in that moment. Maybe you could train them over time, but if you have someone that's already trained that wants to pay $100,000 to come here and you could do it, why
And
wouldn't you?
for the skilled type workers, he does advocate for apprenticeship programs, right? That's the cornerstone of trying to train the American worker to do the jobs in the American factories as the manufacturing base starts to grow.
This sucks for you guys because Trump has put you in a very difficult position because as my colleagues have said here, right, if Joe Biden or any other Democrat would have said this, you'd be like, that's ridiculous.
I don't know you very well, but I can assure you that the condition of Donald Trump being the president versus Joe Biden in no way, shape, or form sucks for me or Jim.
Well, I think it's quite difficult to defend somebody who puts you in a position of saying we should put somebody else besides Americans first, especially when he's just given billions of dollars to bail out Argentina.
I think first of all, it was a currency swap, which we made a profit on. Number two, it's quite easy for me to be perfectly comfortable with the President of the United States, who's presiding over a broad coalition that does have disparate views. The previous administration, you couldn't sit here and tell me who the hell was in charge. I know who's in charge.
You're right,
of this
and I'm not going to defend it. I'm not sitting here to defend that. So I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. So all I'm saying is if you had somebody else saying the exact same thing, would you make the same argument? Can you say that honestly? And can you be intellectually honest about that?
Trump is in a difficult political position because his base is diversified here. Some hardliners, some moderates, and some people who want it more wide open. But they're all part of his coalition. He's trying to find a balance, but he's trying to do what's best for the United States. He clearly thinks there is some role for the H-1B program, but he has throttled it somewhat with this application fee.
He's clearly listening to the SEC community. He's clearly listening to the manufacturing community. He's trying to strike that balance. Did he do it in an artful way in that particular interview? Not necessarily, but that doesn't put Scott and I in a bad position in terms of defending the policies. I think the policies are good policies.
What is
one dimension of it? So he's trying to find some middle ground.
The policy is he has an H-1B program that has a hefty application fee, which means not just anybody can walk in here willy-nilly. You got to be serious.
I thought it was America
I
first.
think you should also make note.
Are you against H-1Bs?
That hefty
I'm America
application
first.
fee is also
So you're
something-
against all immigration?
No, of course not. And I'm not against H-1Bs either. What I'm against is pretending that you are somebody that you're not, pretending that you believe in something that you're not, trying to sell the American people on something and pretend like you were supporting it the entire time, and then putting you guys in a position to defend something that you definitely wouldn't defend if it were any other person.
You said you're America first. I just don't think that they're mutually exclusive. You can be America first and also recognize that there may be times you could import talent from other countries that makes America stronger. We've done that for
Totally,
decades.
but that's not Donald Trump's position.
It's literally what he just said.
Today.
It's literally what he just said.
订阅新田面对面频道，并打开小铃铛，这样就不会错过最新的视频节目了。